Sorry. Yeah. I started the stream, but I can't get the camera to work. Oh, wait a second. Supposedly it's just up there. It's wireless. Yeah. Because it's the one like right above the projector, but I don't know. I didn't have to do this before. But supposedly it's above, like right on the projector. I think so. Yeah. I'm gonna try.
All right, oh my goodness. Too bright and too loud. Okay. Oh, now I can't hear myself at all. How's that? Yes, okay. Welcome everybody. We're gonna get our meeting started this evening at 6:31, starting with the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay. You may notice that our board clerk is not here this evening. It's the first time she's missed a meeting in 10 years, so we thought we'd give it to her. Mr. Rivenberg is covering for her today. Any agenda changes, Mr. Rivenberg? Okay. So our next item is privilege of the floor. Did you check the sign-in?
Does anyone want to speak?
Is anyone signed in? That is one strike, Mr. Rivenberg. I'll be reporting to Miss Young. Okay. Thank you.
She did put her hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry. Deanna Fox. I'm sorry, Deanna. I have to read this thing. I will read it quickly. I won't read it quickly because it's not popping up. I think you know the rules.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Is it on? Okay. So I just wanted to take a minute to, I know that usually when people come up here, they're expressing ire about something, but I thought it'd be nice to mention a few really great things I thought have happened. So um, something that I've noticed is that there isn't always a lot of teacher involvement after classes, after school. It's rare to see somebody stick around for a game. But I wanted to know Miss Pryor, who came to a cross-country tournament in Saratoga on a weekend, which I thought was pretty impressive. Mr. Scalakamp, who's also always seemingly at every game. Mr. Meckel, who often stays behind, especially for kids that are his guidance students, which is really nice. I wanted to make special note about the Veterans Day Assembly that Mrs. Waltz, Mr. Hopkins, and Ms. Heck put on because it's amazing every single year. It gets bigger and bigger, and I have the privilege of being part of the PTA, and we get to do the breakfast, and the amount of veterans grows every year, and they all just rave about how incredible that entire event is, that it's unparalleled to other districts, certainly. And then Mr. Lorette was also part of that because he brought a student down to interview veterans, which I thought was very nice, so that people who aren't able to come to the event hopefully will be able to hear about those veteran stories in our community um, outside of the school. Personally, Coach Simpson, Ms. Hopkins, and Ms. Shadina came together to figure out a situation with my son and help him get access to a resource he didn't have previously. So I thought that was going above and beyond what they definitely should have to do. It was very touching what they did for my kid. And then lastly, I had an issue that I brought up through a few different avenues, and I reached out to Mr. Rivenberg. He set up a meeting with me, himself, and Mr. Ziegler, and I thought it was a very productive meeting. I felt very heard and respected and appreciated for bringing the comment to the floor. So I just thought it'd be nice to share some good news. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deanna. I appreciate that. There isn't anybody else on the list, but is there anyone else that had wanted to speak but didn't sign in? Okay. All right, we're going to start this evening's presentations with our athletic director, Katie Wilson, talking about our fall sports.
Did you sign in to your, is that your drive? Nope. Do you want to sign into your drive? Is that where it is?
We're live or audio only, correct? Okay. Just so.
You'll have to sign in.
That's fine.
Okay.
All good. Oh. Kevin, I'm just going to add onto your account. Is that cool? If Celeste were here, she would say absolutely not. I do not want to anger her. Hey, a 50-50 shot on that one. Don't look at all the unread emails from today, please. I swear I left at 4 o'clock. Yeah, I guess I can talk into it now. That's fair. Really doesn't help being short. Okay, this is a recap on the fall sports we had this year. Out of the 7 varsity teams we had, 6 of them made it to some form of sectionals, which was phenomenal. So let's get into the nitty-gritty of each team. So first off, varsity volleyball, they had a 6-8 overall record. They were able to petition to make it to sectionals this year. They unfortunately lost in the first round. But we do have a lot of athletes that were celebrated in one way or another. So there were 3 exceptional seniors within the WAC, which are Allie Greer, Riley Wilsey, and Heather Black. And then for WAC All-Stars, we had Heather Black make first team, Olivia Cordy make second team, and an honorable mention went to Riley Wilsey. So, and also in the top right, they always do a picture after a win. So that's why they're holding up their W's, if you can see it from back there. Varsity girls soccer, they actually had a pretty phenomenal senior night. They were able to get a company to donate lights so we could have a night game down at the elementary field, which is the first time we've had a game down there in my recent memory. So they had 11 seniors on the team this year. There are 19 total, so a strong majority of that team will be graduating this year. They finished 9-6-1. They were 4th in the league, which is their best finish in recent years. They lost in sectionals to a tough team, but we had 2 second-team All-Stars, Allison O'Hanlon, who came out of retirement for this year, and Shannon Zink. And then we had first-team All-Stars, which are Alex Moses and Morgan Krause. I'm just noticing the baby pictures that I never looked at before. Sorry, I got very distracted. But what's also cool is they had AYSO come and have some kids support and walk out with them and do a nice little celebration for them. And right after that, varsity boys soccer, they had a 7-4-2 record. Gus Guidel took over the team this year, and I think he did a pretty solid job with these guys. Because of the merger, this is the first year we've had to compete in the Class B sectionals instead of Class C, so I know they weren't super excited about that. But they did put up a good battle. Jansen was a first-team WAC All-Star, and Ryan Martin was a second-team WAC All-Star. So overall, they had a pretty solid season. I'm excited to see what they do coming up. We got a pretty strong program with our merger with boys soccer across the board, from modified JV all the way up to varsity. So it'll be nice to see how that goes. Varsity swim. Talk about small but mighty. We started off the season with 4 people. We ended with officially 1. 1 went to sectionals, and they placed 5th in the 500 free and placed 6th in the 200 free, and that's Bridget O'Donnell, and she is only in 8th grade. So for her to place that high, being so young, is pretty phenomenal for her. So we have some things that we're trying to work out next year to make this even better for the team. So stay tuned for that. But we just got a generic pool for this one, just because Coach didn't want to have to put a picture of their bathing suits up here, because they don't have like warm-ups or anything. Varsity cross country, there's our solid, another small but mighty team. So within this team, there are 5 dual sport athletes. So that means that 5 of them play another sport at the same exact time. So they kind of split their time. They choose a primary sport and a secondary sport, and the whole season, they're basically doing 2 sports and still competing at a great level across the WAC. Stella Hyde placed 6th in sectionals. She did a phenomenal job, even though I know she was not super pleased with her finish. I think it's just incredible that these kids have been able to do 2 sports, where me trying to remember one thing throughout the day is a challenge. The coaches also have a plan for recruiting initiatives as well to help increase the numbers with cross country. We had a new girls varsity cross country coach this year. So now that we have these coaches in place, we're hoping that as the years go on, we can keep building and building the cross country program. And varsity football, talk about another small but mighty. Varsity football, they did have a tough season, but those kids worked incredibly hard all season long. And they had a phenomenal 52-6 win over Coxsackie to end their season, which is really the highlight for them. Seeing those kids start at the beginning of the season, a lot of them were new to football. They had not done it before. To be able to come together and have a 52-6 win is a lot better than I can say for my Giants right now. And varsity golf. I know there's a lot on there. Okay, Mr. Scalakamp wanted this all very well known, which is very deservedly so. They ended 14-0. Okay, they won the WAC Cup for the 4th time in 5 years. Grant Raymond and Colin Lucier both had the lowest score at the WAC Cup, tying. Chloe Galvin got 2nd place at WAC. And then Puerto Lucido tied for 3rd place. So we kind of swept a little bit in the WAC. Colin Lucier achieved the 2nd lowest score in a match by a 9th grader in the history of the golf team, which is pretty phenomenal. Chloe Galvin also became the first female golfer from Duanesburg to qualify for both the boys and the girls Section 2 tournaments. And she competed in the girls tournament, and much to, she was not very happy, but she missed by 2 strokes to move on. So we're really excited to see what she does next year. And then overall in the WAC conference, the MVP went to Grant Raymond. First team All-Stars were Colin, Porter, and Chloe. And Section 2 tournament qualifiers were Grant, Porter, and Colin. They were able to go individually and as a team, which is pretty phenomenal for them. And then here's a few fun facts. So in the fall, we offer 14 different sports and levels, which is a lot. I can't tell you how appreciative I am to transportation for helping make all of this happen, because if you saw our transportation document, it is extensive. It changes all the time, but they've been phenomenal at helping us get where we need to go. We also had a total of 23 senior athletes. 45% of our student population actually participated in athletics this fall, which is a pretty solid number. And then now we have winter sports starting. So JV varsity began yesterday, and modified will begin next Monday on the 20th. So excited to see what we do in the winter. And that's it. Do you guys have any questions?
Thank you, Katie. Does anybody have any questions?
Western Athletic Conference. And I believe we have 2 schools joining the WAC next year, Colbiskill and Johnstown. So we'll be pretty deep in teams on the WAC.
All right, anybody else have any questions? Thank you, Katie. Congratulations. Excellent season.
It's all the kids.
All right, our next presentation is our Fine Arts Department and Tech and FAMCon, right? All of those things, right? And we have Kevin DeTondo, and it looks like a whole bunch of our faculty back there. So thank you for being here this evening to talk about arts in our school.
All right. Can you guys all hear me okay? I'm going to move it up, Katie, sorry. How about that? Is that better? Okay. All right, so this is the Fine Arts Department. We just have some quick pictures on basically what we're doing for the year. We have just a couple little write-ups, and basically what we're going to talk about is how we're progressing and the top 10 things that we're going to go to in the future. So starting out in preschool, Ms. Chauvin is working on experimenting with exploring autumn leaf paintings. Kindergarten, she's doing The Giving Tree by Shel Silverstein. First grade, she's introducing Henry Matisse, which is basically like a shape artist. He does a lot of cutout stuff, and it's very simple, gets them in motor skills. Second grade, they're beginning to learn a bit about creating tints and shades, which is awesome, because when I get them as like 9th through 12th, she's already done the basic work, so thank you so much. Third grade, they're learning a variety of different mediums. They're doing pumpkin works and explored chalk pastels. Fourth grade, she's working on doing a memory game, and looks like they're doing 2 matching cards focused on using the skill of tracing 2 ways. Students will use the cards to play the memory game with them. Fifth grade, she's introducing the artist Tim Burton, which we all know from Nightmare Before Christmas. And sixth grade, she is introducing relief sculptures with the artist Charles McGee, and you can see that at the display on the entrance of the elementary school. So then we have the middle school art program. The top 10 upcoming projects for this year is we have a new ceramics program this year, And one of the things that we're working on is ceramic mugs. They're going to also work on they're doing these like custom boxes right now, which are kind of neat. They have a lot of texture and detail to them. If you look down in the left-hand side over here, they're actually working on doing coil pots. And throughout the rest of the year, they're also going to be doing in the other classes historical photo manipulations, which is kind of like a graphic design class. We have charcoal value still lifes, which is right down here. So they're taking a still life, setting it up, adding light to it, and adding lots of detail, which is awesome. Then they're doing the paper mache projects here, and then they're going to do lino cuts and printmaking. And while doing that, they're also talking about the elements and principles of art, which is kind of like the nuts and bolts of everything. As far as the high school goes, we just did a huge Claude Monet program. We were talking about the Impressionists and actually the paintings that are right out in front of you there. So we had the kids start the paintings, and then we went to the Claude Monet Immersive program, which was phenomenal. And thank you for the school for letting us do that, because that really helped tie that all together for them. And they had that whole experience. And then they came back and saw their paintings actually in the field trip. So that was awesome to see that. This year we're working on the 2D design stuff. We're going to be doing bigger projects throughout the school. So we're going to be working on drawings and paintings on much grander scale. So if you see like at the other end of the building, there's like 4x8 pieces of artwork that are around the building. We're actually going to be making a lot more of those this year, so that'll be nice. The 3D sculpture class, we do these creations where they take an everyday object and then they magnify it times 10. So it's like if they do ear pods or anything like that, then they have a huge AirPod, and it's really, really fun to see that. And we just, throw it in the hallway, and people trip all over it, and they love it because it's like, wow, that's amazing. We also have Photoshop class, which is a half-year class this year. We're trying to basically learn like how to do Photoshop as a living, if you wanted to do it as a job. And we talk about we have 15 lessons throughout this half a year, and they do advertising, they do manipulations with as far as like all graphic design stuff. They're designing all the pamphlets and type of stuff like that for school. And then we're also working on a new class, which is printmaking, and we're doing the introduction to like wood carving. We're doing like potato carving, where they start out simple and they do the like kindergarten stuff, and then they work their way up to the heavy duty stuff with linoleum cuts and rolling out the ink and trying to do really big prints. And then let's see what else am I missing here. We're going to move into technology class. The students are working on a number-based conversion with calculators, nets, blocks, and part of discovering computer science. I know that Mr. Lorette is doing a great programming, because I actually had to cover his class a couple times, and he had a lot of, the kids were doing like trial and error as far as like writing code, and it was really interesting because I have no idea what they're talking about. So when I went in there, I was like, guys, what are we doing? And they're like, oh, let me show you. And they're making games, and they're doing all kinds of neat stuff that way. He also is doing an engineering class, which is the introductory course to engineering disciplines. He has digital media, which is the morning news show, and that's doing phenomenal every day. And he's working with that crew, and they put out great news in the morning. They do video game design, which is the class that I subbed in on, and discovering computer science, which is introduction to core computer science topics using various platforms such as the NetBlocks, EduBlocks, and Replit. And then there's also the robotics class as well. As far as middle school goes, the 6th grade tech, they do like a wooden puzzle cube program. So they draw it out first on paper, and then they design it in the computer, and then they actually make their blocks. I know Mr. G has a whole bunch of like little wooden squares for them, and then they connect them together, glue it together, and then they make their patterns according to, like, if you look in the top left-hand corner up here, that's like the blocks that they have to make. So it's almost like Tetris. So it's pretty interesting. The 7th grade tech class, these are the marble roller coasters, I guess you could say. They really are like a huge interactive piece. There's a lot of problem solving going on. They use amazing tape out the wazoo to connect everything together and make it like these amazing structures. I know that the introduction to woodworking class, they're actually building the tiny sculptures of the Lego men. So they're creating them, turning them on the lathe, and they're using all the saws and all the equipment and doing a fantastic job. And then the 8th grade tech part is they're doing, is it Roll Goldberg? Thank you, sorry, I know I said that wrong. And they are working on basically creating artistic sculptures that make noise, and they have these real sculptures by him all over the world. And there's actually one in Syracuse right now that I just saw a couple weeks ago, and it was like forks were raking into different devices. They had car motors that were churning, and they were making all kinds of noise, but it was a music type of atmosphere. It was really interesting. As far as this is FamCon, top 10 things they're doing this year is they are making homemade pizzas. They're doing the monkey bread, which is phenomenal. Personality islands. They're doing hand-sewn stuffed dog toys, machine-sewn bucket hats, the restaurant wars, country cuisine projects, the family dinner lab, and they're doing a family recipe book, and they're doing a buying a home project, which is nice because that gets them into the whole finances part of it at a very young age and what it takes to buy their $1 million house that they want and their, the Lambos and everything else. But as far as the class goes, I actually had the opportunity to go in there just recently and just pop in and say hi and got some free food. They were doing a cook-off and they were doing a coffee bar, I think, too. So, yep, and that was phenomenal. The kids were all making like chai teas and learning how to do it like a restaurant type style and taking orders and stuff from everybody. So that was really nice. And we have the high school band and chorus. Just read this real quick. So the music department, the overall music department numbers are strong. The high school schedule has changed, so that really helped to get the students involved with band and chorus in the morning for during academic time. And they're actually really nice to have all the members together so they can actually play together before their concerts, which is really working well. The high school music electives are string techniques and piano techniques. Let's see here. It looks like the ESYO jazz program is going to be starting as well. And then the high school winter concert, December 14th, and the elementary school winter concert is December 7th. Are those the right dates? Okay, I just want to make sure. And the drama club, last year's show was a huge success. Cinderella had almost 70 students involved and had hundreds of people come and watch. This year's production dates, Dwaynesburg Sings Broadway Fall Fundraiser is November 3rd and 4th at 7, and the spring musical is March 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. And let's see here. This is the music electives, I'm sorry. And this is the string techniques, piano techniques, introduction to theater, music production and recording. The string techniques and music production recording is on the left-hand side there. And then we have Thursday, December 7th, the elementary school concert will be held at 6:30 p.m. featuring the elementary band and chorus, groups for 5th and 6th grade. This past spring, the performing group, Peter, Paul, and Aldo, came to DES and taught the student body dances and songs for 2 days with a family dance Friday evening. We hope they hope to have an enrichment program come to the school in spring of 2024. So on the bottom there, there's 4th and 5th graders working the ukulele and the pianos. And they had the Veterans Day Assembly, which obviously has come and gone, but it was a really great success. We had a lot of feedback from that. That was really positive, and it was such an enjoying atmosphere. And holiday sing-along, which will be coming up very soon, and Peter, Paul, and Aldo visit. And I think that's it. So do you guys have any questions for us? I know there was questions that went out today, so I just want to make sure that that was all answered. Okay.
I don't have questions, just comments. Thank you all. The work that you are doing with our students is incredible, and we see it in the results of their art and their class projects. I want to shout out a little bit to Miss Heck because she came in with a really small group, and she is growing it. And I think the musical really shows her dedication to our kids. So, but everybody, I call you out by name, but I can't see everybody. But thank you for being here. Thank you for doing this and giving our kids the enrichment of arts and tech. Anybody else? All right. Okay. Next up, we have Assistant Superintendent of Management Services Reserve Fund Report. That's you, Mr. Rivenberg. Oh, so we don't have to do that now?
So
Oh, I'm going to skip that. I don't want you to do it again. Thank you.
I think
All
you
right.
should do it again.
Quiet, Mr. Spoor. Your motion is denied. Superintendent's report, Mr. Ziegler.
I just want to echo also the Veterans Day Assembly, and the band and the chorus were incredible. And the other part that I thought was really special was the kids who were able to stand up in front of that entire adult population that was there. There were plenty of community members there, standing up in front of their peers and giving conversation about what Veterans Day meant, talking about, you know, alumni who are presently veterans. And, you know, I had the chance to sit with them. And I had such great conversations with them about what they were doing and how they got hooked into it. And they all happened to be members of the student council for the elementary school. But it was like, that's a hard thing to do. It's a hard thing for a lot of adults to do. And they were spectacular, right? I mean, they really were spectacular. And kudos, you know, to you for what you did, because I hear you're the ringleader behind this whole thing, and you know who I'm pointing to. And I won't call you out, but you know, and everybody probably knows, and I didn't know, right? So I showed up, and it was like, you know, you're going to speak. And I was like, okay. And she was very clear what I needed to say. So I thought that was really, and I did go off, went off script a little bit. But anyways, that was incredible. It was incredible. And a number of community folks that were there, the number of veterans that showed up, I thought was just outstanding. Like, that was huge. I have been to a lot of these types of things. And the kids, the participation and everything, it was just really spectacular. And having high school kids come down to be part of that, I think, is hugely important, right? You want to talk about being able to build a program. Those other kids are able to watch those high school kids, watch the chorus, watch the band, and that's captivating to them. The other thing that with Katie was able to pull off was an incredible kind of signing, where two of our students were able to sign D1 commitment letters. And it happens to be one of the young ladies is the granddaughter of a very good friend of mine, and a retired superintendent who recently passed away a couple years ago. But anyways, it was nice to see that family again. I haven't seen them in some time. I do run into the mom periodically when I'm here in town. But anyways, that was not an easy task to be able to arrange that, get that pulled off, and have that put together. So I do appreciate that. And I'm gonna just kind of stop there. But what? Oh yeah. Sorry. Thank you very much. Good thing you're the board clerk tonight. You're doing very good. You might have earned the board clerk job. So we are in the final kind of phases of working through with the playground, and I know I believe me, when I was here 3 years ago, I understood the passion behind the playground. I also understood the passion behind wanting a new playground even 3 years ago. Well, it's happening, and it is on slate. We are still waiting for final approval out of state ed, but for the most part, we have gone through a number of processes, and Jim started that process with playground committee and whatnot. And you know, we had to do some maneuvering around some things, and we were able to maneuver around that to be able to incorporate everything that they had come up with. We are asking that we have a facility, is it facilities committee? The facilities committee meeting at some point, I think that's already scheduled. Already scheduled. We hope to have the final renderings of all of that we'll present at that point, and then at the December board meeting, be able to kind of let everybody in on the double secret playground that's happening right now. So, but we've been round and round. We have been round and around, and it's interesting, architects, if there's any architects in the room, this is not meaning to be disrespectful to anybody, but they hear what they want to hear. And I'm like, no, I didn't want you to remove stuff. We want more stuff. And then next thing you know, you get a rendering and they've added what we wanted, but they take out some other things. And it's like, well, where did this go? And the elementary school has a song, and the song is about a car, right? Or it mentions a car. And it was so cute. This is another side story. I'm sorry. So the little guy that was standing next to me, and he talked about the song, and I said to him, I go, is this the song about with a car? And he goes, yeah. And just as that verse was coming, he turned around and looked at me, and he goes, it's coming. And I just thought that was hilarious. So I was able to tune in on what the car part was. So anyways, took us a long time to figure out how to get the car. And architects want to just take the old car, and I go, well, no, there's a reason why we're getting rid of the playground is because of the wood and the rotting and everything. We don't want the rotting old car in this brand new playground. Let's figure out what we can do to get a new car. I initially suggested we change the song, and then I realized that wasn't going to go over very well. So we have figured out the car part. So anyways, so that's where we're at. But looking forward to being able to provide to everybody in the community on the December board meeting where this is at.
Thank you very much. Anybody have any questions for Jeff? All right. Did we have any committees meet this month? No, but Building and Grounds is coming up later in the month, yeah?
Yes.
Oh, you did have audit committee? Okay, do you have a report?
Oh, that's right.
We're going to vote on it later today. And the committee recommends that we accept
The audit. Okay. All right, great. Thanks, Tony. Okay. Next up, financial.
We gotta accept the minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. No, did I skip it?
You just skipped
I
right
totally
into,
skipped right over it.
Yeah.
Yes, I did.
you get so excited about committees.
I was very excited about committees, yeah. Okay, so recommendation that the Board of Education accept the meeting minutes from the October 17th, 2023 meeting as submitted. Do I have a motion?
I'll motion.
Thank you, Francis. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Avis. Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? You don't have to. I mean, if you reviewed them, it's fine. Yeah. Are we okay, clerk? Okay. All right. Now, moving on to financial. Recommendation that the Board of Education accept the reserve fund report and plan as recommended by the Audit Committee and Assistant Superintendent of Management Services and provided by the Assistant Superintendent of Management Services. Do I have a motion?
I'll motion.
Thank you, Teresa. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Alyssa. Comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
I'm the problem.
You're the problem. Good to know. All right, next item, accept financial reports. Recommendation that the Board of Education accept the following financial items as provided and recommended by the Treasurer and Assistant Superintendent of Management Services. We have a general warrant, a capital warrant, an ECA report, and another general warrant. Do I have a motion?
I'll motion.
Thank you, Tony. A second?
I'll second. Or
I'm going to give to Sarah.
Go give it
Thank
to
you,
Sarah.
Sarah. Any
That makes
comments or questions? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Sorry, our internet is a little slow this evening. Okay. Next item, approve contracts and agreements. Recommendation that the Board of Education approve the following contracts as recommended by the Assistant Superintendent of Management Services. We have a contract for Chit Chat Speech and Language Services Agreement. We have a Cobleskill Richmondville Central School District updated agreement as of October, and then a Chit Chat Makeup Sessions Agreement. Do I have a motion?
A motion.
Thank you, Teresa. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Avis. Any comments or questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Next item, accept audit management response letter. Recommendation that the Board of Education accept the 2022-2023 annual audit and audit management response letter as recommended by the Assistant Superintendent of Management Services. Do I have a motion?
A motion.
Thank you, Francis. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Alyssa. Any comments or questions on this one?
Can I comment?
Please.
That was going to be my
Yes.
question.
I'd like to comment. So I've been reading and been part of these audit reports for a long time, and in a lot of different places. And I made the comment at the audit committee meeting when we heard the auditor's report, and I think this is the first school district that I've never had to write that I'm sorry letter to New York State Comptroller's Office. I promise to do better at not having too much money in my reserves, not having too much money in my unappropriated reserve account, and all of those types of things. This was clean. And that has a lot to do with the board clerk tonight. So really, I want you to realize that audit report, like he wrote that audit letter, basically, there was no need to write the letter. Normally, the letter you write is a corrective action letter that goes with an audit report, and this was a letter he wrote a kind of a corrected action to something that didn't really need to be corrected, but it was point of information kind of thing. But anyways, I just compliment Jeff, the board, fiscal oversight, the responsibilities that folks have at the district office level for everything that goes along those lines. But it really does fall into what Jeff does for you and all those types of things. So I just wanted to comment along those lines.
Thank you. Good job, Jeff.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Rivenberg.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Okay. Just a reminder, we are accepting this letter. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? That's what it says we're supposed to do.
You just
Okay.
told us we should.
Next item, approve budget transfer. Recommendation that the Board of Education approve the transfer of funds as per attached documentation to cover Mountain Lake student expenses. This is recommended by the Treasurer and Assistant Superintendent of Management Services. Do I have a motion?
I'll motion.
Thank you, Alyssa. A second?
I'll second. Teresa.
Teresa. Thank you, Teresa. Any comments or questions on this? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, last financial item. Approve budget transfer. Recommendation that the Board of Education approve participating in cooperative energy purchasing service for the 2023-2024 school year as recommended by the Assistant Superintendent of Management Services. The lead agency is OCM BOCES. Do I have a motion?
I'll motion.
Thank you, Tony. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Avis. Comments or questions on this? I know I asked my question, Jeff, but maybe just really quick, what this is and why we're doing it? Yes.
So this is just a renewal of our cooperative that we buy our energy from. So we're able to purchase the electricity. It's through a statewide consortium run by the BOCES. They go out for a bid and we lock in our rates. So it's been really good for us because sometimes we actually receive a check back. So it's just because there's so many schools in there, it gives us a lot of power to get lower rates. Good.
Which BOCES is OCM? Syracuse? I was just more curious than anything.
Any other questions? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, moving to other items. Accept CSE and CPSE minutes. Recommendation that the Board of Education accept the recommendation of the CSE and CPSE meetings and their minutes from the October 13th, 16th, 17th, 25th, 26th, November 2nd, 3rd, and 6th, 2023 meetings. Do I have a motion?
A motion.
Thank you, Francis. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Teresa. Any comments or questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Next item, disposal of obsolete library books. Recommendation that the Board of Education approve the disposal of obsolete books from the high school as per attached list as recommended by the school principal. Do I have a motion?
I'll motion.
Thank you, Tony. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Alyssa.
I have a hard time doing that with books.
Comments or questions?
I do, actually.
Go ahead, Edith.
I had sent an email yesterday, I don't know if you saw it. Is there a way to annotate like the reason for disposal, like it's damaged or pages are missing, instead of just weeding out?
I think we could do that. We may not be able to do that with every book,
Okay,
but I think there's some books that are just old. And
Right.
we're just weeding them out at this point.
yeah, I just saw a lot of books on there that, you know, were good books, and I'm wondering, and there were some that were received in 2018. So I was just curious, you know, why are they disposing
That's a
the
good
book?
question.
You know, it can be one word, damaged cover, or
I
pages
think that's something
missing.
we could do for you. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Good suggestion.
Thank you. Avis, any other comments or questions? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. All right. Sorry, the internet is slow. Okay, next is approve overnight trip. Recommendation that the Duanesburg Board of Education approve the December 28th, 2023 overnight boys varsity basketball trip to Utica for a basketball showcase as recommended by the high school principal and Coach Simpson. Do I have a motion?
I'll go ahead, Tony.
Go ahead. Okay. Thank you, Tony. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Francis. Comments or questions on this?
Question.
Yes.
So it says the rooms are gonna be paid for by the basketball program. Is that a separate program from the basketball funding in school? I'm just curious, is it school funded or is it like a separate kind of PTA type thing? Booster club, I mean?
They have separate funds that they've raised
Okay.
through fundraising to pay for the trip.
Oh, so they did fundraising
Yeah,
to
and-
earn
right.
this?
And
That's
then I
awesome.
believe also, Katie, correct me if I'm wrong, is there some kind of grant too, or no? There was some kind of, for the hotel? No? You don't know? Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot. Yeah, that the section pays for the hotel, is that right or no? Okay. Okay, so I apologize, yeah, this was just for it was through fundraising then.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you, Katie. Okay. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. All right. Next up, approve agreement with Siena College.
This is
Recommendation that the Board of Education approve the high school dual enrollment program application between Siena College and Duanesburg Central School District to offer the course CSIS 110, Introduction to Computer Science, beginning January 2024 and ending June 2024, as recommended by the superintendent and high school principal. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Sarah. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Avis. Comments or questions on this?
I would love, is there interest? People signed up for it? Because this is awesome. Do we know?
Hopefully.
I hope so.
Find out.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. All right, moving on to personnel. Accept resignation, A. Di Lorenzo. Recommendation that the Board of Education accept the resignation of Amanda DiLorenzo, food service worker, effective November 21st, 2023. Do I have a motion?
I'll motion.
Thank you, Teresa. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Tony. Comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Next up, approve appointments. Recommendation that the Board of Education approve the following appointments as recommended by the Superintendent, Athletic Director, and Assistant Superintendent of Management Services. ECA appointments are for the applicable 2023-2024 school year and sports season, beginning with preseason practice and ending at the conclusion of the season, including sectional play. All appointments are employees at will, and appointments at this time, and an appointment at this time does not guarantee employment for the entire school season term or year. Those appointments are quite numerous and as listed. Do I have a motion?
I'll motion.
Thank you, Avis. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Alyssa. Any comments or questions on these appointments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, next up. Approve long-term substitute appointment, Kay Crawford. Be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby approves the appointment of Kellen Crawford as a long-term substitute family and consumer science teacher, effective retroactive to July 1, 2023 through June 30th, 2024. 0.8 FTE Master Step 2. Do I have a motion?
I'll motion.
Thank you, Francis. A second?
Second.
Thank you, Sarah. Comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, last personnel item. Approve appointment. Santandria? Did I say that correctly, Jeff? Santandria?
Santandria, I think.
Isabella.
Okay. Be it resolved upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Board of Education appoints Isabella Santandria to a 4-year probationary appointment as a teaching assistant in the teaching assistant tenure area. TA Step 1, commencing November 27th, 2023, and ending November 26th, 2027, contingent upon compliance with the requirements of the education law. Do I have a motion?
I'll motion.
Thank you, Avis. A second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Tony. Comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, moving into information. Just calling your attention to end of year tax information. It's available on our website, right? Yeah, so that is there. And then I have a brief update on the superintendent search. If you were able to participate in one of our forums, we very much appreciate that. We had, I think, 3 or 4 of those. The survey is still open, and it will be open, I believe, through the 17th, so the end of the week. If you have not completed a survey, I would really encourage you to do so, and encourage your friends and neighbors to do so. We are receiving all of that information, and I, for one, have read every single response. So it's really important to us to hear from you. Those surveys are not just going into the void. We're seeing all of them, and we are reading all of them. So if you haven't done it yet, please do. And if you know others that haven't, please encourage them to do that. We will meet with the consultants after Thanksgiving to review all of that information that we've received. And then applications will open to accept applications on December 1st. So that's where we are with that.
We should be making decisions into the new year.
Correct, yes. We'll be doing interviews in January and early February, and hopefully we'll find ourselves a good candidate and be ready to go. I think that's all we have. So we're going to move into executive session to discuss a personnel matter. We will not return to the open session, so thank you for being here. And thank you to the arts department for being here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
We really appreciate you being here and sharing all that information with us. I need a motion to enter executive session. Oh, yes.
Did we need to vote on the info tax?
Nope, it's just informational.
Okay.
Yeah, just informational. Okay.
Thank you.
The tax rate.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, we can do
Okay.
that.
All right, so a motion to go into executive session. Thank you, Sarah. A second?
Second.
Thank you, Avis. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right. Thank you, everybody.